Welcome to the Reins of Leadership, the podcast dedicated to helping you lead with presence and influence with trust. I'm your host, Merinda Smith, business leadership strategist, sharing actionable insights on mindset, EQ, and energy uniquely illuminated by wisdom gained alongside my equine partners. For this recording, I had a conversation with Nancy Griffin, who is a financial advisor, yet she's going out and speaking to women. And we connected because there was that synergy between the people that we work with. And even though finances is not something that I typically talk about on this podcast, it is a very important aspect of who you are as a person, your wholeness as a person. I actually believe that it is worthwhile for us to discuss it in this podcast, even though horses and donkeys, don't worry about the finances. It's more about the person who manages them in the workplace or in their paddocks. So have a listen. I think you'll enjoy it because I did. Hello, Nancy. It is so exciting to have you on my podcast, and I can't wait to hear where this conversation goes. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you so much, Merinda. I'm delighted to be here. What a pleasure.
Thank you. And, we were just talking about the time differences, and there's 12 hours time difference. I'm in Australia, you're in Canada, and I always get that amazingness of that this connection of being online is so amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it is incredible.
And sometimes we forget when we're in our busy lives just to stop and slow down and think about those little things. We have as business owners, we are often so crazy busy jumping onto the next project and the next doing. And as women, we're often supporting so many different people, whether it's your family, whether it's your clients in your business, and we forget about ourselves. And I believe you also see a lot of those women. Tell me about your experience, Nancy.
I think the most important thing you can do, and it really is a lot of fun, is just literally take 5 minutes for yourself first thing in the morning and just do an inventory, a quick inventory. How am I doing? You know what the day ahead is going to be all about because you've already set that all up. But how am I doing? What am I looking forward to? How's my health? What concerns do I have? What should I be doing to enhance my well-being? And just ask yourself a few questions. The other thing that I really encourage people, I don't like the work-life balance phrase. I just focus on priorities because you head out for your day ahead and your whole day is going to change. It's not going to go straight ahead. And so you just reprioritize. And when you reprioritize and continually talk to yourself quickly, at the end of the day, you're very proud of yourself that you basically were driving the bus every single step of the way. You weren't letting the bus get ahead of you, or you weren't letting yourself go to places that you didn't want to be. So, and I think my solution, what has really worked for me, is just that you regroup with yourself. Take a second. It doesn't take much. And just regroup and say, am I doing what I want to do? What else should I be doing?
Yeah, that's great feedback. As you were speaking, then I was feeling into my body and just feeling how I felt with your comments. And initially, I got this very strong feedback, pushback actually to your first comments, and it was, when you're checking in with yourself and you get this, and I'm suspecting because I feel into my clients, and often that is I'm picking up some of my how my clients might react. I'm suspecting that when you're checking in that first 5 minutes, if you see something you don't want to see, that was where the pushback was, and you go, well, I don't want to know about that. I'm just going to keep moving on. And so share, if you could, how do you deal with that when you get that pushback?
Well, again, take a breath, and just say, now, what about this? And then think, this is something that has to be addressed. So what is my best approach here?
Yeah.
And again, take a moment to think about what is your best approach. because it isn't, you push it away, you push it down, you push it so that you're not thinking about it. It'll pop up and it'll be 10 times worse.
Mm.
So, and again, you will be very, very proud of yourself when you've headed into something that has been particularly challenging.
Yeah. And I love that. And as you kept talking earlier, you were talking about those priorities and that is linking to what you've just said there. So acknowledge it and even though it hurts and um it's painful to go there sometimes, by observing it and looking at it and taking one step towards it, you're actually lessening that pain and you're building your muscles in a sense.
And be your own consultant. I mean,
Yeah,
women are so smart, they're so capable.
yeah.
They've got so much going on, but be your own consultant. Be that fly on the wall looking back at you.
Mm,
Okay, what should I do? The other thing that I do to kind of shore up some extra in situations like that that can be particularly challenging is think about, okay, what else can I do right now that would be a plus that I don't have to do? And sometimes it's just like send somebody an email that you weren't going to talk to for another week. Okay, well, maybe I'll send them an email right now. And then guess what? They come back and say, I was just thinking about you.
nice.
Like look for those enhancement moments
And that's a
and put those.
beautiful enhancement. It's that connection that you're connecting, you may be grateful for something they've done or whatever, but they're good moments, human moments. Yes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Lovely. So what does true wealth mean to you in leadership, in yourself?
Well, that's a pretty powerful question. I think, what does true wealth mean in leadership? I love leadership. I look for opportunities all the time. And my leadership style is that you look for other leaders that you can help become leaders. So
Yeah.
it isn't all about you. The world is not all about you. It's about you and what you can do to advance other person's well-being. And of course, we all know that's why I talk about net worth and self-worth. By the time you're doing that sort of thing and you're seeing that your efforts are paying a dividend for that person, they're also coming back to you as a dividend as well.
Mm,
Over the last couple of months when I've been doing these podcasts, the one thing that becomes more evident all the time is energy.
mm,
And energy sparks more energy. It really does. Like you're just ramping up continually. And once you're ramping up, again, it's like you're putting reserves in there so that when things are just awful, the lights go out, you've got reserves. And I think those reserves really help you survive and go forward and do well.
yeah, I love that. And tell me more about the net worth and the self-worth. And I really, I just for our listeners to get a sense of who you are and where you go. I do want to comment though about the energy because energy is so important for both of those. And energy in the financial, but energy in yourself. So yeah, really important points there.
Exactly. Well, I was a wealth advisor. And so when I was a wealth advisor, that's when I realized I needed to focus on people's health first before we even start talking about money. Because if you don't have your health, you're not going anywhere anytime soon. You're really not. And we all know that women, every mom is expected to be the nurse practitioner in their home. How much do they know about all those health-related scenarios with their parents, their in-laws, their kids, their staff, yada, yada, yada. And that's when I started to partner with not-for-profit health-related organizations that were focusing on women's health. So not only did these women increase their awareness and their knowledge, but now they've got a go-to group if they've got questions about that particular aspect of health. And as I did that, I would encourage these women to do a charitable donation for that event, 25 or $50. And that then becomes a deduction when you do your tax return. And so this was just a very small sampling of how you increase your net worth by doing charitable giving. Women Worth and Wellness is 31 years old now. So fast forward 31 years later, Now, as you probably know, women are inheriting incredible amounts of wealth with a whole lot more to come. Plus, they're earning more. So women are stewarding incredible amounts of wealth. We also have the examples of Melinda French Gates and Mackenzie Scott, all the money that they're stewarding and really being role models. So the net worth really could have started out as a $50 donation, and now it's a whole new scenario. But that also goes into the whole self-worth scenario because we know if we're in a position to give or to share, again, as I mentioned earlier, often the person who is the greatest recipient is not who you've given to, but it's yourself. So
Mm.
it's very much an upward spiral that supports all sorts of different things. And again, it depends on that individual's preference. But I encourage people, especially, well, for your health as well as your wealth, that you're working with a trusted advisor. None of us wants to do our own dental work, so don't try to figure this all out for yourself. Get ideas from friends or family members or whomever, but really, really work with professionals who can really have an ongoing confidential dialogue with you in terms of where you're at, what you'd like to do, maybe lots of questions that you've got, so that you really feel a whole level of confidence that you're moving forward with deliberation.
Yeah, beautiful. And just like you would go to the doctor or to a kinesiologist or whoever you see to keep your body in top shape,
Correct.
you're doing the same with your financial wealth. Yeah,
Exactly.
beautiful. And do you find, are you part of this group that you've started and it's been going for 31 years? Are you actually in there communicating with those women?
Well, lots of different things have happened, of course, over that period of time. I had a lot of clients who were women, not exclusively women,
Yeah,
and I sold that client business
right.
10 years ago. But while I was a wealth advisor, that's when I trademarked the brand Women Worth and Wellness.
Yeah.
So after I didn't have any clients anymore, then I brought this out as a standalone business.
Hmm.
And how that worked was I would have wealth advisors who would sponsor my events. And more often than not, it would be males because it's very difficult for males to prospect females. And so I would get to know the male and I would just simply say, you know, sponsor my event. And that gives you an opportunity to build your brand so
Mm.
that you can build your business. And this one gentleman in particular, we worked together, I guess, for 5 years. Just a terrific guy, just a terrific guy. I mean, we really had a great relationship because I knew that he was exceptional. I knew that anybody who became his client would be exceptionally well served, regardless of who you were. He was an excellent listener, and we know what a great aspect that is of somebody's listening and understanding what your situation is. And so over the years, all sorts of different things, and all I would say would be, I would introduce him. He would talk a little bit about what he did, but I would say every smart woman gets a second opinion. And then, of course, over to him. And there was no accountability in terms of, who you have as clients now that I've introduced or as part of these events. But at the next event or the one after, I'd have women who would come up to me and say, by the way, I'm now a client of
Wow.
because
Yeah, yeah,
he
because
was
they
he was
connected.
he was just the best. I mean, I knew
Mm.
that I was encouraging them to get into a relationship with somebody who could serve them well, but
Yeah.
that was their choice. All
Mm.
I did was make the introduction.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're meeting with these women now that you've created this group, you're meeting with them on a regular basis.
Well, some of the ones that I had as clients,
Yep.
I still have that come to these events because they love the different topics that we address. And recently, we've been doing a lot on philanthropy because women really are the new powerful philanthropists.
Yeah.
But then I'll do different events with a whole new group of people who will
Mm.
come. And it's just amazing to see how they connect the dots.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing that we started doing, I guess this is 2025, probably 2022. I read an article in New York Times about YOLO, you only live once. And I thought,
Ah,
well, isn't that
right.
interesting?
Mm-hmm.
So we had an event, and then this was at a women's restaurant, and we had 45 women, I think, who came. Each one of those women was a business owner. And so I said, okay, each one will take 10 minutes and just tell us their YOLO. You only live once.
Nice.
So 10 minutes, and then people could ask questions. But there was no interviewing, which made all the difference in the world because when you're interviewed, obviously the conversation is being directed. But if the person is given 10 minutes to just tell us whatever, and any woman who has 10 minutes with an audience listening, it's a bonus. So
Yeah.
we did those, and then there would be women in the audience who would say, if you're doing this again, Nancy, I'd love to tell my story. We ended up doing
Wow.
five of them with four women. And it was just, and we found out things about these women who we knew,
Yeah.
found out things about them that we did not know.
Mm.
So all of a sudden you've got a whole new relationship
Yeah.
with that individual, but then in this community, because they would often share things that, really were not positive for them, vulnerabilities that they'd experienced. And as soon as we heard about it, a whole new appreciation of who that person was.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, who are the typical women that you work with? Are they business owners?
Business owners primarily,
Yeah.
um, some corporate,
Yeah.
but more often than not, it is business owners at all sorts of different levels. For example, I was a member of an organization called Women Presidents Organization
Yeah.
out of New York. Canada was the first international chapter in 2001. And those are for second stage business owners and ones where you have a minimum of 1 million in Canadian dollars,
Yeah.
or two if it's a product. So you need to be at a stage where you've already scaled, but you want to scale further.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another whole organization called Grow Your Biz,
Yeah.
which is a group that, they're prior to WPO, but a lot of those women have scaled to the point where they would be well beyond a WPO member.
Right.
And then there are other women who are leaving a corporate role and just getting started in their own
Started.
business.
Yeah.
And so it's just a whole spectrum of women business owners at lots of different ages and stages. But
And
at the end of the day, most of them have similar challenges.
that's exactly what my next question was. What are their challenges? What are you seeing? So let's start with health. Do you find are there similar health challenges?
Very much so, very much so, especially pertaining to menopause, and now it is much more prevalent in terms of conversation, so much more public than it ever was before. But
Mm.
now before it was kind of the silent scenario. Now it's out there. And of course, the support that people get is just keep on going. Like
Yes,
wipe your brow.
that's it. Keep going. Yeah.
Exactly. We used to say go big or go home, and now it's go big and don't go home.
Mm.
Keep going.
Mm.
Really, really keep going. But then women are much more confident in sharing their personal situations that can potentially help another person. I was just in a roundtable yesterday with 36 different women. We had 6 tables, six at each one. And the conversation was really, really interesting. It was all about healthcare.
Mm.
It's women's health and innovation. So
Yeah.
what's working, what isn't working? How do we fix what isn't working? But through those simple questions, people are sharing their own personal experiences.
Yeah.
One woman said, I knew about menopause. I had no idea what this perimenopause was.
Mm.
And then goes, and then whatever. I mean, women, when they gather, especially business women, make it a priority to share how they're doing personally before they really start to share what's happening with their business in these peer-to-peer advisory groups.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. That's great. And do you find, so that's health. What about mental health? So that's physical health and, body. What about mental health? Is there something, a common theme challenge there that you're seeing?
I think just people feeling overwhelmed
Yeah.
with, what in the world is going on and how
Mm,
do I fit my business into what in the world is going on?
yeah.
And then just being overwhelmed with all of the responsibilities that they do have
Yeah.
and not wanting to let anybody down. You've
Mm,
got staff that are counting on you. You've got customers, you've got a family, you've got a community, you've got a lot of people. So that's why take a breath and step back and talk to yourself.
yeah.
Like talk to yourself in terms of, what am I doing that's causing me to go too far too fast? That's a question that I've often asked myself
Mm,
because you want to do them all. Everything needs to be done right now. Well, no, you can't do everything right now. So, what are the AAA1 priorities? And is that really something that has to be done right now?
mm,
So, have a lot of conversation rather than heading out and trying to deal with them all. That's when the stress really kicks in. And that's when you'll often make mistakes because
yeah.
you didn't proceed carefully
So
with discretion.
yeah. And so what I was picking up as I'm listening to you is that you just pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and think, okay, I've got this, alarm bells going over there, alarm bells going over there. Which one am I running to? Or do I need to run at all? And
Correct.
can I stay here grounded and maybe support them in a different way? Yeah.
Exactly. But
Mm,
again, for any woman who is listening, who is a woman business owner, I would really, really encourage you to get into a peer-to-peer, confidential advisory group,
mm,
because that's when all the info that comes in is kept completely confidential. And sometimes by sharing things sooner rather than later, you've headed off that overwhelmingly stressful moment where it's like, oh my goodness, I don't think I can cope. I
yeah.
don't think I can go on because you've put a lot of stuff out there that other people will jump in and help you with
Mm.
before run over the edge somewhere.
I find often, I agree totally with what you're saying. And I also find that getting it out in some way, so whether you speak it out or you're typing it out, helps you to clarify the muddle that's happening
Right,
in your mind because you're
right,
taking in all this information and it becomes a muddle and you run to go and react to it. Yet when you actually speak it out, you go, so for me personally, I speak it out, and I'll speak to my husband or good friend or what have you, fellow business owners who understand, and you hear yourself and you go, it's not that bad, really.
exactly.
It's nothing like what I was making it out to be.
Exactly. The
Mm,
other thing, I'm heavily involved with Rotary, and I've always
yeah,
had something like that in my life.
yeah,
And I think that too is a good way to temper your existence
yeah,
because you're not the only person in this world. And if you've got a lot going for you, you know that there are a lot of others who don't. So even that little bit of focusing on somebody else rather than yourself
yeah.
makes a big difference in your ability to, be grounded, be positive, and move forward with happiness and confidence.
Yeah, and contributing to others in a way. So you're volunteering your time and financial to be a member, but you're also contributing to community because they're about serving the
Right.
community and yeah, which is
And
beautiful.
yeah, and the good thing about Rotary is it's a business club.
Yes.
It's
So
a
people
business
are
club
in
that
business and
exactly. It
yeah,
actually. So you don't have to feel badly that you're in business trying to do well and make a profit and, do all the good things that you want to do. You're
yeah.
there as a good business leader who does care about what in the world is going on.
Yeah. And in fact, I was only speaking to someone the other day, ruminating about your friends. And it's good to have those business people around you
Right,
to talk about business and be able to, someone who relates to the issues that you are dealing with. If they're employees, they don't understand so much what
Mm.
you deal with as a business owner, which is you are covering everything.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm,
No, exactly. No, back to friends. I mean, you'll have different friends at different points in time. You
yeah.
will have friends that you've known since childhood,
Uh-huh.
but then you'll have a lot of friends that come and go. And that's okay. It's like advisors. You outgrow your advisor depending on, how life unfolds for you. And that's okay.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes we need to give ourselves permission to say that is okay, to let your friends go, that who were
Right.
really close friends, to let them go. Yeah, it's very.
Mhm.
Do you
I was
get,
just going to say this
yeah.
one lady that I worked with, she said every year at the end of the year you go through your Rolodex. And it's like, who's adding to my life?
Yeah.
And if this person isn't adding to my life, then why do I feel the need that I need to keep in touch with them?
Oh,
So,
that's so true. Yeah. And there are
yeah,
so many people that drain you and you go, why am
exactly.
I connecting with them? Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Which brings me on to my next topic that I was going to ask you about was energetic wealth. And do you cover that in your sessions and that you have?
Tell me more what you mean by energetic wealth.
Well, I'm thinking more about spiritual and well, yeah, it could be both because it becomes physical as well, doesn't it? That energy that you, but it's more about I was thinking initially was about that energy you bring in your quiet confidence of self. Mm,
I think a lot of that for me comes from getting involved with Rotary.
yeah.
And again, you have to be with the right group of people.
Mm,
I was a member of a Rotary Club in Toronto. I don't live in Toronto now, but in between Toronto and where I live now, I was in another community where there were three Rotary clubs.
yeah.
And I visited each of the three, and I would never have wanted to have been a member.
Of
It
any of
just
them.
wasn't the, no, just
Mm,
wasn't the right group of people
yeah. So it was
because
the
you've got
energy in the
energy.
room.
Exactly. You've got
Yeah.
energy to give, and you've got even more energy based on the energy that comes back to you.
Yes.
And if you get into a situation where your energy is being drained, you think, oh my goodness. I remember this one club, there was one person, and it was like it was a one-man show. And I thought, I couldn't stand to listen to this person every week. Forget this,
Yeah.
thanks for inviting me as your guest. But
Yeah.
I get a lot of energy from that because there's so many different ramifications that come from that participation
Mm,
because you've got so many different people and you've got so many different things you're focusing on. You're focusing on a lot that's happening locally, but then a lot that's happening globally. One of my new best friends is in Beirut, and she and I are big champions for one another. And that's terrific. That's energizing for me. Is
mm.
just meeting some fabulous woman who's doing all kinds of amazing things there. So to me, that's kind of my energy wealth, but my spiritual wealth as well.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. And
Today we had a woman talking about how they first introduced a Syrian refugee family, came to Canada. And since then, of course, their relatives have come, and since then, more relatives have come. And I think it's over 100 altogether. And to hear the success of these families and
mm,
these children, of course, families that have made education the number one priority, and
mm.
how they've gone on to university and they've been given bursaries and, really distinguishing themselves as professionals. I mean, that in itself is just so inspiring. You're
Yeah,
just
isn't it?
delighted.
Mm. And yes, yeah, to hear that is just so, yes, heartwarming. Yes. Um,
And I was just going to say, and the lady who was speaking, because one of the other topics was we're, hosting a Rotary Exchange student, and we're looking for host families.
mhm.
So I turned to her after she'd given her big presentation and said, maybe this is an opportunity for a Syrian family.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, a lot has been directed to their well-being,
Mm.
and let some young person from Germany or Australia, from wherever, live with the Syrian family for 3 months. Why? Oh, she said, well, that's an interesting thought. So
Yeah,
anyway,
so go to Canada, but live with the Syrian family. Fantastic.
exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
brilliant. I am such an advocate for hosting children to come, and stay with us. And we have for the last 20 years, we've hosted, and it comes from my father was in Rotary, and so we always had Rotary Exchange students staying with
Wonderful.
us. And so for the last 20 years, we've had students come and stay with us. And the last two, one was from Germany and one was from Sweden. So the German stayed with us for 9 months. And then randomly, about 6 months after he left, gone back to Germany, he just flew back to WA, to Western Australia, and came and visited us. So he was
Wonderful.
here for 2 weeks and he just did those things that he didn't get
Wonderful.
to do. Yeah. And I went, wow, we've changed his life in
Exactly.
so much that he wanted to come
Yes.
back. And then the Swedish girl has just been accepted into a West Australian university. So
Fabulous.
again, we've changed her life. So she's going to be here for
Exactly.
3 years studying because she loved the place so much. So again, I'm so grateful that we could share the experience of knowing about them and their family, and we could show
Right.
off our beautiful part of the world. But we've also been able to influence them in some way of
Right.
a different way of living. And they've
Exactly.
seen that, yeah. Mm.
So you've given so much, but you've gained so much. I
Oh,
mean, that's why it's so amazing.
yes, it
So
is.
amazing.
And you get so much back. You're so true,
Yeah.
so right
Yeah.
there. What I would like to go is to talk about women who undervalue themselves because we see that so often in business. Now, they could be of any of those categories that you were talking about. They're starting from corporate, starting a new business, and they're undervaluing themselves and the services that they offer, and it's reflected in their prices. It could be that they are at that over $1 million club and they're earning the money but they don't value themselves enough. They value their business more than they value themselves. And they put themselves last. They don't sleep. They run on I don't know what. And it's all about their business. Tell me about your experiences with those sorts of people.
Well, we all know about Taylor Swift and her Eras tour. And if I were ever doing a tour, it would be a worthy tour.
Oh, nice.
Like you are worthy. You are worthy. And it's no different than when we get on the airplane and they tell you to put the oxygen on yourself first. It's that simple. You are worthy. You've got a right to be here. And you've also got a right to be the best that you can be. And just know that. And that's why I keep emphasizing talking to yourself. Talk to yourself and just say, good for you. You just did the whatever. Like if somebody's taunting you and giving you a hard time and you didn't go for it, give yourself credit. Good for you.
Mm,
And, but always know that you're worthy. You're worthy. It's as simple as that. And, you're right. Everybody gets swept up and all the responsibilities, and women really love to have all those responsibilities because they know they can handle them all. On the other hand, the best thing you can do is delegate, train a few people. They'll never do it the way you do it, but so what? Let them do it their own way and step back and be proud of the fact that you gave that person the opportunity to bring their uniqueness forward. And so all the time you're driving your own bus because you know you're worthy.
mm. Do you get pushback with that statement though? That you are
Well,
worthy? Because those
I
ones
do.
that are running, I just feel that they're running away from, I think it's more like fear. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm,
No, it is. It's like, and women never want to be seen as being selfish.
mm,
Women always want to be seen as being generous and considerate and kind and, loving and looking after the other person. And so when you start to talk about you should be selfish, you should pay more attention to yourself, you should go and do something special for yourself. It's like, oh, I wouldn't even think of doing that. Well, you need to think about doing that because you've got a right to be here. You're worthy of having the best existence that you want to have. And that's why starting off, you need to be healthy. And then once you're healthy, then obviously wealth is helping you work your way through to whatever extent your wealth is. But the first step is, you've got a right to be here. Lots of and not just a right, it's a privilege.
Mm,
Because with everything that's going on in the world, there's so many people that don't even have that little simple privilege of being alive and well and vertical and able to make some decisions about what they're going to do today or what they're going to eat today.
mm,
So when you strengthen yourself and gain that confidence, you then have a whole lot more to give back. And again, as we talked about, that then generates more positive energy because that comes back to you and then you can give to more.
yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing how it all works. And
Mm,
it's so simple, but it is a mindset. It definitely is a mindset and, a mental health scenario. And
it is.
often people who are not thinking well of themselves are ones who've grown up being conditioned
Mm,
that you're less than. And so, how do you flip that thinking around? How do you flip it around? And that's not easy. That's not easy. But the first step is to know that it is a challenge for you and that isn't the way you want to be. So then you decide to do some things differently.
yeah. And it's about having that support or that advisor, like you were talking about
Right,
before,
right.
and it could be an advisor in that mental health capacity to keep you, or a coach, business coach, to keep you going, and thinking about your mental health. There was a point there that you made, and I wanted to go back to that, and it's totally gone.
I always say there must have been a draft because it just kind of went through.
It did. It sure did. So it was
Yes.
heading off somewhere. Um, oh
But what
my
I said,
goodness.
what I just said is so hard. It's not easy. It's not easy. But the first step is to recognize that that isn't the way you want to be
Mm,
and that you do go to get some help. Like go to the library, get some books. Ask somebody else, ask somebody who you trust. This is a challenge for me. Who is there anybody that you can think of that I might talk to?
mm,
And the other thing that I've learned over the years is it's really, really important to be careful who you take advice from,
yeah.
because sometimes you can share your situation, you can, share your vulnerability, and then it's the wrong person.
And
And
often, yeah, and that is a trap that we do fall into because they're a third party, and we sort of think, oh, and I know I've fallen into this trap, and so I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I think, oh, they're removed, and so I can just share this information.
right,
And then I walk away and I go, oh, I just dumped all this stuff on them, and yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So it's taken me a while to learn that.
I know it. Well, this is it. The longer you live, the more you learn, the more
Yes.
you have to share, which is wonderful.
Yeah. What I recall what I was going to ask you was about when you have your connections, your gatherings, are they online or are they face to face?
Now, both, both.
Okay.
So, I mean, certainly during COVID, we did a lot online,
Yeah.
and that was great because we could bring in speakers from all over the world.
Yeah.
But more often than not, they're personal.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
in
So
groups. Yeah.
for someone in Australia, we'd have to go to Canada to meet with your group. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. I just love the fact that you're getting on and you're speaking to others around the world, and that to think about that wealth and that leadership. And do you talk about, because I often, with my horses, this is the reins of leadership. And so we talk about the equines and how they hold up the mirror to you, and they reflect back what you are reflecting without you even knowing it often. Do you get into, in your workshops, do you get into that sort of area of looking at yourself in the mirror?
Not really, but that's a really good point. And this past summer, we were out west in Alberta and went to a horse farm.
Okay.
Man, oh man, if you ever came to Canada, you would have to go there because, she just started with a few, and she started with a few students who would then board their horses. Whoa, it's gone on. I think she's got about 75 horses, but
Wow.
loves them all. And
Yeah.
then just talking about how this whole experience has taken her whole spiritual being to such a higher level.
Yeah.
Like she's just soaring, just soaring. And again, it's all those different scenarios with this person and that horse and how this horse wouldn't do and how this person worked with that horse and, amazing, amazing stories, amazing stories. We haven't really done that in any workshops, but I think that's a really, really good point. Really good point.
Yeah. And sometimes it's, as you were talking, I'm thinking about what happened on the weekend. And so we were offered some donkeys. And so I was a bit wary about going to get them. But anyway, we turned up at this farm. And so I didn't have any preconceived ideas, or I tried not to. I wanted to be as neutral as possible
Yep.
before I turned up at the farm. But I got there and I just felt this sense of, yeah, foreboding or something. And my husband had come with me, and I know that he feels that as well. So, but the woman was there, and so we couldn't have this conversation. They were right, she was right there in our face. So I said to him, do you want to go and have a coffee and discuss it? And anyway, as we got in the car, we both decided that we didn't want to take on the donkeys for whatever reason. And neither of us could pinpoint why. But it was just this feeling of don't do it. And we picked that up with humans as well. So we won't know the answer as to why we did not get those donkeys. Uh, and sometimes with humans, you don't know the answer why you walked away from that person. But you get that, and that is energy. That is that energy speaking as you enter a room. Yeah, I was just thinking about how that reflects, in life when you are dealing with
A plethora of
clients,
people. Yep.
anyone. Yeah,
Right.
we're dealing with humans, and you walk in, and yeah. And it's really important to protect your energy and to look
Correct.
after yourself,
Right.
and cleanse any negative energy afterwards that you've had that interaction. So yeah.
Well, the thing is, we always need to be very, very, very discerning, but at the same time proceeding with optimism and confidence that you will respond appropriately.
Yeah.
And obviously that's exactly what you did.
Mm.
You did. You went into the situation with expectations of who knows what, and then this happened. This
Yeah.
happened, and you backed away from it. And
Mm.
and so be it. So be it. I mean, those things happen all the time. And
Yeah.
sometimes the reverse happens. You go into the situation not necessarily with any expectations other than I've committed to being here.
Mm.
And then quelle surprise, out of the blue, you meet three fabulous people. That happened to me a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And this lady, I'm going to see her in another month. And the two of us, once we got going, it's amazing. I mean, it really, really, really is incredible. The new area that I'm focusing on with Women Worth and Wellness is women's age of integrity.
Okay.
And it's like, what the heck does that mean? Well, it very, very simply means I can't believe I've lived this long. I can't believe I've done this well. And I now know that I really need to make adding value to this world to the very best way that I possibly can. Underlying everything that I do is we need many, many more women leaders in AAA1 roles,
Yeah.
front and center. And
Yeah.
women can do it. It's just that
Mm.
women have been on a really positive trajectory, but then they kind of get to, it's like the horse that gets close to the gate and stops. It's like, really, I think I've come far enough. Well, you
Yes.
know what? Don't stop. Keep going.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yes, so true. And earlier in our conversation, we were talking about exactly that, and I was feeling into the that pain of not wanting to go forward because you've got a pain or a resistance or what have you, and the gate is there, as you just said. And it's actually when you open that gate, you step
Push through.
forward and you see this brand new pasture, this brand new scenario
Exactly.
turns up. And for you,
Exactly.
you've met some beautiful people in your example. Mm,
Exactly. And a book that I bought that I love, it's called How We Learn to Be Brave.
yeah.
And it comes at you from different directions. Like we can choose to be brave
Mm,
and that process, or something is just lobbed in front of you. And it's
yeah.
like, or you move into it. And
Yeah.
it's really, really interesting because to your point, once you push through and get beyond, more often than not, it's going to be a whole new experience. And quite frankly, once you push through that scenario, you're not going back to where you were.
Correct, correct. And I want to bring it back to a horse situation as I do.
Yeah.
So I've had this pony for 3 years, I think now, and I've been starting him from being pretty much unhandled. So, and then I started him to saddle and started him to build up his confidence because he had no confidence whatsoever. And so I took him to a show jumping, it was a training round show jumping event on the weekend. And he's just starting to find his body and
Wonderful. Wonderful.
understand himself and feel brave enough to go forth. And yet on the show jumping was a wall, they have the show jumps with the brick walls and that sort of thing, and they have to go over them. And he's going, there's no possible way I'm going near that wall. And I'm like, come on, buddy, you can do it. You're with me. And because it was a training round, the instructor went and walked up to the wall. And instantly, the minute that there was a human there, he went, okay, I can come forward now.
Wonderful.
And he went
Wonderful.
forward and he looked at the wall and he jumped it, in the rounds and he jumped clear. And
Wonderful.
it is exactly your analogy of the human. It's just taking that step forward, having maybe someone else to show you the way, maybe, and just show that it is okay. And then after that, you're fine, and you don't have
Exactly.
that issue again. Yeah,
Nope. And you're not going back because you can do it.
yeah,
I
exactly.
think with women, yeah, no, with women too, sometimes women can be the worst towards other women because if that woman does that, other women, or they may think other women will go, well, who the heck does she think she is? And
Yeah,
so, never mind. Go forward. The world needs you to go
yeah.
forward.
And the confidence, that's what I was just about to say, was the confidence that they build up through
Exactly.
taking that step and going, I did that. I've
I can
achieved
do
that.
this.
And it's something
Right.
really small.
Beautiful,
Mm,
beautiful, wonderful,
nice.
really good.
Nancy, it's been such a pleasure speaking to you today, this evening for you. And I really am grateful that you've come onto the podcast and we've had this delightful conversation.
My pleasure, Brenda. And I really want you. We're sisters in the Commonwealth, So I
Yes,
think you should plan to come to Canada sometime. I
I,
really
I,
do.
I absolutely yes. I would love to go to Canada and meet with Nancy. What a beautiful conversation we had. So much deeper than just pure financial wealth. And I hope you enjoyed it too. Thanks for joining me on the Reins of Leadership. Remember to lead with presence and influence with trust. Subscribe for more insights and find resources at merindasmith.podia.com.